the whole point of us meeting today. We do have a tentative agenda, which I'm going to run through, that I want to thank Jim Pittman for taking the majority of his time to put that agenda together for me. And this is a collection of different things from different numbers of people. But to start with a few housekeeping items, if you haven't been to our website, AFTW.org is the place. You'll find a bunch of news, maps and charts of the practice areas that we put together for safety awareness, and a bunch of different articles on different topics, including links to the General Aviation Joint Steering Committee's monthly flight safety topics that are posted up there monthly. The other housekeeping items, it would be helpful if you go up to participants, I believe. You should be able to change your name if you click on yourself. So if your name is showing a number or a random gibberish characters and you want to put your name in there, that would be helpful so that we can give you credit for attending today. If you do want credit for wings for this meeting, please send Craig Tompkins an email. Craig, I don't know if you want to give out your email. I think it's a part of the invite, so I think people should have it.
Exactly, yeah. At Craig.Tompkins, spelled Tompkins at FAA.gov.
Yep, and you should be able to find that in the registration information on
I'm not sure if people are dialed in, they can change your names. You have to do that for them.
Okay, I was able to change my own just by going to the participant list and clicking on my name and then clicking rename, but I am on an iPad, so it may be different than other folks' abilities. All right, so then if you have a question, please don't hesitate. You can type it in chat or raise your hand. I'll try and keep a lookout for people raising their hand and stuff with questions. Craig, please help me out on that. And also, please refrain from side questions in the chat. And sometimes you get like 3 or 4 side topics going in the chat. If you have questions, let's bring it up for the group to discuss, and we'll do it that way. So again, my name is Brent Crow, and I'm going to be your unofficial host today. To start with, though, we'd like to hand the floor off to Rick Whitaker, who I believe is from the Tucson group and is looking to discuss some developments around the RNAV GPS runway 12 at Marana. Rick?
Good morning. Y'all should have received an email from Lee Unger that talked about 2 things, really. First, he suggested input to the work in process document that's been worked on by the AFTW, as well as recommendations on procedures for the runway 12 GPS RNAV at Marana. First, let me just kind of summarize the conditions that are the impetus to these documents and our efforts. Again, I'm a FAST team representative in the Tucson area, as are many other folks that have participated in this creation of these documents. Marana. First, it's a Tucson reliever airport. It's non-towered, has crossing runways. Traffic is rather interesting. The mix of traffic, we have just standard general aviation, transient, and instructional. There's routine parachute jumping. Pinal Air Park, just north of Marana, has a perfectly aligned runway with the long runway at Marana, 7 miles north. Interestingly, perhaps give you some idea of the confusion that comes out of that. So we had a few years ago, a 747 inadvertently land at Marana where it intended to go to Pinal. He got her stopped and got her turned around once he realized the error, and in turn got it off again. We have frequent turbine charter traffic, both prop and jet, lots of King Airs, lots of G4s, etc. There are 4 RNAV approaches, GPS RNAV approaches. And what complicates matters is when the parachute jumping is going on, the missed approaches conflict with the parachute jumping. It is often used as a student solo cross-country destination. And And then last but not least, in terms of the approaches, we have frequent quote unquote on your own GPS runway 1-2 approaches done with no contact with Tucson approach. These issues that I've listed here all combine to create a rather interesting situation, hazardous situation, frankly. Most recently here, just before our last meeting, we had a near miss of about 50 feet of a student on a solo cross country coming into the pattern and not being aware of other traffic. With that in mind, these two documents have been created, and what we're soliciting, asking for is CFI review and comment on these documents. Frankly, we could use some help, particularly those folks that would routinely or time to time use Marana and or intend to send students to Marana. Our intent ultimately is to have published recommendations on the AFTW website, such as the procedures that have been published for the stack at Casa Grande. So there's kind of the introduction and our request. And again, I'm going to have to jump off onto another meeting here in a moment, so we don't necessarily request we have comment at this time, but we'd appreciate the review and comment by email, and look forward to having frankly a situation that is tolerable at Marana between now and when the expected arrival of a tower would be. Expected now, latest estimate is 2024. And not that a tower will solve all the problems, but it can certainly help a lot. Appreciate your time, appreciate your interest, and appreciate your review of these documents, please.
Great, thanks, Rick. And do you want these documents posted on the AFTW's website?
Ultimately, again, we'd like to have them publish recommendations. They may not be in a form that are appropriate just yet, and that we don't really have consensus on certain things. For example, on the runway 1-2 approach recommendations, there's actually 6 considerations, and those have not reached a consensus as yet. So it probably is premature. Okay. There, it doesn't have a firm recommendation. The work in process is probably pretty far along. Not sure where the work in process shows up. I've not seen it on the website, although I've gotten copies of it where we've talked about various procedures at the various airports around the state. It's probably pretty far along, but the 1-2 recommendations use some help.
Okay, I know there's a couple folks on the meeting that are interested in viewing the documents. So we can put the drafts as they are on AFTW's website, and hopefully that'll allow access to everyone to view that wants to check it out.
Yeah, that's good. If someone didn't get it from the emails from Lee, then that would be good. Good idea. Thank you.
Okay, I got that in the notes. Was there questions from anyone regarding that besides just getting them up for everybody to see?
I see in the chat, Brett, this is Kerry Grant. The question came up was, where do they want the reply to the inputs? Is that back to Lee or Richard or?
Lee's your best bet. She's really been carrying the load in terms of consolidating these things. That would probably be the best one, or copy me, but Lee's probably your best bet. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, I know Ryan has an RSAT meeting at 10, so I know a lot of folks are probably going to drop off at that time to go to that meeting, which is totally fine.
Correct.
Correct. So just wanted to get the Tucson stuff kind of out of the way in the formatter of this meeting so that you guys can get to that meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, real quick, if I could just butt in, I did see there are a couple of phone numbers on here, and one of them looked like a Tucson phone number, so I just wanted to see if I could get somebody to respond here. I got a 520 number ending in 6775. If you could let us know who you are, please.
Yeah, this is Jeff Hurd. I called in. I'm listed on the video as well. I just have
awesome. Thank you. Thanks. All righty. And just a couple of more, if you don't mind. Okay. I've got maybe there were other Tucson folks. Okay, got 2 more. I've got a 480 number ending in 4128. Again, 480 number ending in 4128. All right, well, I'll just move on to the next one. This will be the last one, a 602 number ending in 0122.
Yeah, that's Ludwig, Ray Ludwig.
Thank you. All right. All right, and with that, Brent, it is back in your hands, sir. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, moving forward, I think probably the next topic to go over with everybody before Tucson folks have to jet out is there's a movement or recommendation that we move our meeting time from 9:30 to 1 o'clock. And this is to allow for alignment with the DPE meetings that are occurring. So DPE's meetings are looking to move to the second Wednesday of every month at 3 o'clock. And they'd like to have the AFTW meeting right before, just to kind of get all the meetings in one go and not have stuff spaced out. And it makes it easier too for the same group people to discuss common issues. So does anybody have any issues if we were to move this to a 1 o'clock start time instead of 9:30 on the second Wednesdays of each month or every other month? Okay. All right, sounds good. So we'll go ahead and move with that change and see how it works out for our next meeting. Now, I do believe that the next meeting time, if we go with second, we're going to skip October because it's every other month. So the next meeting would be in November, but that seems to fall on Veterans Day. So I don't know if that is going to work for everyone, but maybe moving to on that particular month, maybe the third Wednesday. I don't know if you guys want to just keep it standard and do a meeting on Veterans Day.
Brett, the third Wednesday of the month is ASAG's meeting at 12 o'clock.
Okay. So maybe shooting for the first Wednesday of the month in November. Let me see what my calendar looks like. That'd be the 4th. I don't know if there is any calendar issues with the 4th. All right, so we'll probably do the meeting then on the 4th at 1 o'clock. That's the proposed time, unless email discussions with some of the main people that need to run it are unavailable, but we'll try and do the 4th at 1 o'clock. Okay. Moving back up to the top of the agenda list here. So for airspace, and we kind of go into a couple different topics: airspace, airports, training updates as kind of our standard big 3 topics. Airspace, we have updates been put into place. There's a project on recommended procedures for the practice area instrument approaches for Phoenix area. There's a document that's been put together. It's actually a really nice job. They're putting together, hey, if you're an instructor working on instrument with your student, here's some places to practice instrument procedures, and here's what we find works best to get the most bang for your buck as far as time and flight, where to go if you want to complete certain approaches and how to do them without causing safety concerns. So that project is in progress, and there hasn't been a lot of action since the last meeting. They are looking for a couple of volunteers to help finish writing the last few approaches, doing proofreading and edits. So if you'd like to be a part of that group, you can submit feedback to the AFTW contact page. So if you just go to aftw.org and go to contact us, there's a little form you fill out and just say, hey, I'm interested in participating with the instrument approaches project, and they'll get you contact information hooked up. So the document is being shared through Google Docs with those who are on the team. Stand fill stack procedures, revision 6 came out a bit ago, and it seems like revision 6 procedures are working well. We still have some folks that are reporting Maricopa Highway inbound, so if you haven't checked out the new revision 6 yet, please go check it out on the AFTW website. You'll notice there has been some changes to some of the communication procedures to minimize the amount of calls made and hopefully that decongests the radio frequency for Casa Grande. There's also an email we received from a DPE, and this is I'll just read his email. What he said: I think that a slide would be helpful to those who view the slide. Excuse me. I think a slide that might be helpful is an example of what ATC will most likely say to inbound aircraft. So, for instance, what ATC would say to an inbound IFR aircraft when handing them off to the local procedure, so basically a slide that goes over all the radio comms examples, so that folks if you're an instructor with a student, making sure that your radio communication matches kind of more of the standard phraseology. That would be helpful, is what he's stating. Most of the time, this probably just comes from lack of practice and familiarization with IFR phraseology, but I know that that's been an issue on some check rides of people not knowing what to expect as far as phraseology. We also, on that topic, looking for clear direction on IFR aircraft at Stanfield. We are trying to put together a small team on this. I don't know if Larry Taylor's on the call here, if you have an update on trying to come up with a process of getting IFR aircraft and VFR aircraft to kind of play together in the same sandbox at Stanfield. Okay, I don't see, I'm guessing Larry Taylor's not on the call. But I guess let me just end that topic with, there's IFR folks that will be on an IFR flight plan on a clearance, will get handed off to the CTAF frequency and basically dropped into the stack with, hey, multiple VFR traffic, change over to advisories and see you later. And suddenly they find themselves in a massive hornet's nest of VFR aircraft, and they're trying to work with the VFR aircraft, but still try and follow their IFR clearance. So if you are being told to enter the hold at Stanfield on an IFR clearance, remember that you need to follow your IFR clearance. You need to ask ATC if you need some change to your clearance so that you can separate from VFR aircraft, and you can work with the VFR aircraft on the frequency to try and compromise on clearances and stuff like that. We've had it in the past where somebody gets told by ATC to come into the stack at 5,000 feet, and their stack may be up to 6.5, and that person now has to climb up to 6.5, but they're on an IFR clearance supposed to be going direct to the VOR and maintaining 5,000. So obviously that causes a concern. So just work with the folks presently there. If you're a VFR aircraft in the stack already, just be advised that IFR aircraft coming in, if we can be adaptable to them, and not saying let them cut in front of you per se, but we just need to share the airspace and understand they're restricted by procedures that they're being asked to follow by ATC, and it would be helpful to adapt to them as they're a little less able to adapt while remaining IFR than we are in a VFR environment. Yeah, go ahead.
This is Kerry. Are the pilots that are filing IFR using it for training purposes, or are they transients that are coming in?
I think more likely this is transient, but I know that there are some times where pilots have done this. It's most of the time, at least the experiences that I've had with it, it's when you're diverting into Stanfield because you're coming back on an IFR cross country. Maybe you flew down to Yuma or something, and you're coming back, and now you can't come into Phoenix because of thunderstorms or some other issue going on. So ATC diverts you to, or you divert yourself to Casa Grande. And so then they're trying to mingle with the stack, which is super busy because it's VFR everywhere else, maybe poor weather. So that's usually when it gets out of hand. But that's one scenario I've seen. Go ahead, Matt.
The last few months, I've been paying more and more attention to who's going in IFR. The majority is actually a couple of the big flight schools. I've had personally from the north, the northwest, and the northeast, maybe 2 itinerant IFRs. And when they're coming in from the north, I give them a heads up. I say, are you familiar with Stanfield? Are you familiar with Casa Grande? Both times they said no. So I explained the hornet's nest to them, and they wound up canceling with me, crossing midfield for a right downwind and falling in line. So I don't know what Albuquerque's doing. But from what I see, most of the IFR are actually local flight schools.
Why are they doing that?
You're saying most of the local flight schools will cancel and just go VFR. Is that what you're saying?
No, most of the flight schools, those are ones I see IFR in the stack at 5,000 shooting the approach. Those are the IFRs that I see actually all the way to the ground. The itinerant ones are the ones that cancel and will try to avoid that hornet's nest over Stanfield, at least coming from the north when I'm working them.
Yeah, no, part of the other issues is that some of the training aircraft are trying to complete or satisfy the requirements of the long cross country that has to be under IFR, and they can't cancel. Otherwise, they just basically lost the whole flight and they'd have to do it again. So, yeah, if you're an instructor, it's best to try and avoid Casa Grande so you don't have that kind of a problem turn up. But like I say, I think work with the controller that's giving you your clearance, and find a happy median that you can integrate with the stack or another airport if you need to get that approach done. Other questions or comments on that topic? Cool. And like I said, we're always looking for feedback on these procedures. So please don't hesitate to go onto AFTW's contact page and throw us an email. The published hold at SIPLU for the GPS 25 left at Deer Valley. This is not a procedure that I do anytime very often. So if there's somebody else that has some input on this, we've had some users that have reported some traffic conflicts with some pilots that are coming in from the Northeast practice area frequency, while others are talking with Phoenix Approach to shoot that approach. We're wondering if this is something that maybe we should work on as a group with the AFTW to maybe come up with a standardized procedure that coming back from Northeast, or if you're shooting the approach, like how we not run into each other. Do you guys have any thoughts or suggestions for those who typically shoot that GPS 25 left at Deer Valley? Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Can I touch on this real quick? There's a new letter to airmen out for Deer Valley. I don't know if everybody's seen it. It came out on August 31st, effective September 1. And that is the same requirement that happened at Scottsdale, Falcon, Gateway. It's where we are now required to provide IFR separation on those practice approaches. So those who were receiving the practice approach RNF-25 left into Deer Valley, often it's going to be an unable from us just because we have to stop all of our IFR Scottsdale inbounds and outbounds. So sorry for that bad news. But yeah, that's all I have for that one.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay, that's all I have for the airspace items on my pre-planned agenda. Does anybody have any airspace related issues? I would just have one of my own, that there's been a lot of fires and TFRs popping up. So, don't hesitate to check NOTAMs prior to flight and very often. Otherwise, you might find yourself getting off the ground and flying into a TFR. Any other airspace concerns? Yeah, Matt, you want to take that?
It should be in the NOTAMs, the FAA website. Not exactly sure. I think you could just Google it and search for letter to airmen, Deer Valley.
Yeah, and I know we have some of them that have been published through AFTW. I'm not sure about that one, but I'll look. I've got it on my notes here. We'll look into it and see if it's on AFTW's site as well. But yeah, I think you should be able to search for it through AFA's site as well. Okay, so moving on to the topic of airports. I don't have a lot here either, but there's been a lot of construction projects at various airports. So as a blanket reminder, do check your NOTAMs. Stuff changes very often and frequently, especially in monsoon season with the thunderstorms. You usually will find an airport just suddenly closed due to some sort of storm damage or flooding or something like that. So do be careful when you go fly. Any other important considerations anybody wants to bring up regarding any of the airports in Arizona?
Brett, Cary Grant here.
Go ahead, Gary.
We've been working with Tim Clark, the Phoenix PD, remind people, particularly in the Deer Valley area, if you're getting laser strikes or anywhere around the valley, make sure you report those. They have had some success with an arrest from an individual that was shining a very high powerful laser just south of the airport. And but it's not unique to just Deer Valley. I know out at Mesa in that area, they've had reports as well. Final approach into Sky Harbor through Tempe's airspace too. So
yeah, I think they've also had some issues down in Tucson too, if I'm not mistaken.
And Prescott has had some reports as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts on airspace? I'm sorry, airports.
I was curious if anybody has seen non-standard turnouts at Coolidge, such as someone coming in on GPS 23 and then overflying the airport and then turning left, flying over the parachute activity, going back toward, or the parachute area, then going back towards Rocco. I saw it a lot a couple months ago and had a lot of reports from my pilots, but I was wondering if anybody else had been seeing it. Nope, just ours?
I haven't seen any report of
Okay.
it. I haven't been flying though for quite some time.
All right, appreciate it.
Okay. Moving on to training updates. So there was a issue brought up regarding the logging of instrument training as required by 61-129 A3I. If you want to get into your regulations, this is talking about the requirements for instrument time, I believe, for the commercial check ride, and they wanted to ensure that all of us applicants are aware that the instrument rating time does not satisfy the requirements of 61-129 A3I. The training may be conducted at the time of the instrument training, but Part 61 applicants must still properly log the required 10 hours of training for the commercial pilot certificate. So this is really a documentation issue. You need to just be careful of how you log that time in your logbook if you want those 10 hours to count towards your commercial pilot certificate. It doesn't apply to graduates of a Part 141 course. If you have questions, the best person to ask about this would be Craig Tompkins. And so you can just email him. He did send out a message to flight school managers on September 1st, just letting them know about this important issue. It was causing some check ride issues. So Craig, do you have any other thoughts on that you wanted to discuss?
Well, no, I think you captured it pretty well. The gist of it is that possession of an instrument rating in and of itself does not qualify for the 10 hours. And the whole problem is that the way that they've got the verbiage in 61-129, nowhere in 61-65 are those particular items broken out and listed as a requirement for the instrument rating. It's stuff you have to do. It's in the ACS. It's all there. But the problem is it's not in the regulation. So how an instructor logs that time, if they can use that phraseology or maybe just refer to 61-129 when they're doing that instrument rating training, then everything's good. If that makes sense. And as Brent said, if you have any questions or issues, feel free to give me a call, give me an email. I'll be happy to run through it.
Great. There was some comments on perhaps asking AFTW to submit a proposed rule change to the FAA on this and asking if we could add something to 61-129 that states the training listed in 61-129 is not required when the applicant holds an instrument rating. I don't know if you have any comments on that further, Craig.
I know we ran through that just the other day with Jim Pittman, and he's apparently running with the ball on that. So,
okay,
it's in work. We'll just see what happens.
Okay.
I think the comment was made. It might help our grandchildren.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, other topics regarding training updates that anybody knows of would like to bring up? Okay. I have two other random items for the meeting minutes here, and that is if you need help with IACRA and filling IACRA forms out, there's a help document that Jim Pittman has put together, and you can check out Jim's website. If you haven't checked it out, it's FlywithJim.com, and just go to the check regs page and you'll find an IACRA tips document. Feel free to share it. And he says to please email him with any corrections or changes or suggestions. One question he wanted to propose to the group is, does anyone object to changing future AFTW meetings? Oh, we were talking about that. Talking about moving meetings to the afternoon time. It's on here twice for some reason. Okay, so I think that's it for other. Any other concerns, questions? Open forum at this point. Goal, how's things going in Northeast practice area?
Things have been going great. As far as flight schools are concerned, haven't seen any low flyers for a while. I think a majority of the people that attend this meeting aren't from the Scottsdale airport, so those have always been usually the offenders, but everybody from this group and other airports have been great. But overall, everything's been great. And yeah, I can't think of anything.
Great. I know that does, I don't know if anybody poked their head outside today so far, but it's like 90 degrees high today, which is amazing. So it's actually cool when you open the door in Phoenix today. It's quite nice. Although it's supposed to go up to 105 for the next like 10 days. So, you know, it's not going to last, but in typical fashion. Although I know Denver just recently went from 105 to 32 as their high within like a 24-hour period. So all that to say, when Phoenix starts getting down into cooler temperatures, which should happen here soon, you're going to find a lot more people with their windows open. You're going to see the complaints for you know, low flying aircraft and noisy aircraft occurring. So if you're flying over the cooler months, just remember to be careful of where you're flying over and be, you know, respectful to those folks on the surface, and not try to make noise flying over somebody's house at 500 feet AGL at 11 o'clock at night.
Or at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah. So any other questions, concerns? Open forum.
Thank you.
And Brett, Cary Grant.
Yeah, go ahead, Cary.
I'd like to remind people that the deadline for CFI of the year, Avionics Technician of the Year, Fast Team Rep, the Tower, the ATC Communicator, and the Airport of the Year are coming up 30 November. We're still planning for the banquet out at ASU Polytechnic in January. It'll be the third Saturday of January. And as far as I know, pending COVID restrictions, the banquet's going to go on. We're still working on the details, but we still need those nominations. You can go to generalaviationawards.com or to the ASAG website with a link on there. With the tightening in the job market for CFIs and pilots, this may be a way to differentiate yourself from your competitors out there. So please submit your qualified people, both on the mechanic side and the pilot side, please. Lots of flight schools out there. We ought to have lots of nominations.
Yeah, and Cary, I think, aren't you like the retired airline pilot of the month or something like that?
It's the gift that keeps on giving. That's right. August 20th, I had my final flight with United Airlines as an Airbus captain. So
congratulations on a great career.
Thank you.
And appreciate all the time you give back to the rest of the community as well. Cool. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Oh, hey, Brent.
Yes.
Terry Wolcott. I'm the Fast Team Program Manager up at Las Vegas FSDO. So I was just popping in to see what you guys are doing. Sorry, got a phone call there. And I think we're going to look to do a similar flight instructor forum up in our area. So awesome. Anyway, if anybody comes up toward Las Vegas and has any questions on local practices, feel free to contact me, or I can steer you to one of my reps. So thanks for having me.
Terry, is there an email contact you want to provide?
Yes, you see my name there, terry.l.wolcott@faa.gov.
Got it.
So thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job on this. I like it.
Thank you. Other thoughts, questions? I think this is this one of the shortest AFTW meetings I think we've ever had. Usually we go the full time. Yeah. Okay, well, I don't have anything. Like I said, the next meeting will be November 4th. We'll look for a 1 o'clock start time. It'll be probably a Zoom meeting unless situations change at the FSDO before then. Terry, is there any update that you, or not Terry, Craig, is there any update as far as what you've heard at the FSDO, maybe when you guys are back opening?
No, unfortunately not yet. I think with Arizona trending in a positive direction, positive meaning in a good direction on the COVID-19, I think we are beginning to look at maybe being closer to the first entry gate for return to work, but that hasn't been discussed yet. So, and we need to have a minimum of 14 days of improvement on about 3 different fronts: hospital bed space, overall numbers, testing, things like that. So it's not looking like it's going to be real soon, but at least it's looking positive, I'll say.
Cool. Well, I guess to summarize, if you are a little rusty, not flying so much due to COVID or other downtime, go on FASafety.gov. There's lots of seminars, webinars, training. I know AFTW's got stuff. FA Safety has a lot of courses to take. If you haven't checked out the From the Flight Deck series, is pretty interesting, just showing different airports that are hot areas for incursions. You are welcome to go check that out. There's a video of Gateway, Falcon Airport or Falcon Field, Deer Valley, Tucson. So really good training videos if you haven't flown in those airports before and you want some perspective on where common issues occur. Go check those videos out. Again, it's From the Flight Deck. You should be able to Google that and find the website for that.
Hey, Brent.
The FA, yeah.
Yeah, I got a question.
Sure, go ahead, Tyler.
Gonna throw it out there, just a curiosity thing. I'm wondering if the downturn in instruction, and this is probably for most of the guys working at the flight schools, is it primarily a COVID-related issue, or is it a new student coming in issue? Is it all of the above? At least in the 121 world, we are seeing an uptick in passenger travel, not so much business travel, but the passenger travel has been starting to return. I'm wondering if you've seen that, or if anyone's seen that in the flight school side of things as well.
I know from our flight school, we haven't seen a downturn. It paused for a second on some of our incoming contracts, but our contracts in the next couple months are actually going to skyrocket. So we have more people banging on a door than what we can really allow in. So,
okay.
I don't know, from other flight schools perspective, if there's anybody else on the call, have
yeah, because you
feedback
hear,
on that.
People are having a lot of flight instructors are, struggling right now, kind of just in general, probably with what's going on. But
yeah,
I'm wondering if that, what is the real drive of that then? Is it COVID, or is it just a reduction in students? Because if you're saying you're busy, it's kind of like, well, if you're staying pretty busy, then why aren't the instructors having as much work? I'm just trying to put those together. I don't do a lot of flight instruction. I try and keep myself current. I'm mostly flying across the Atlantic or something. So I'm trying to jive those two things together.
Okay. Yeah, I know Lisa has posted here for LAT, it's mostly due to the need for new pilots. Lufthansa is not seeing the passenger numbers they need and will downsize in the beginning of the year. I'm guessing too, a lot of folks that are looking to do training probably are, either worried of their job or just don't want to put money that direction on something they're not sure is going to, be able to play out for them. I know a lot of people are out of a job, so yeah.
So you see it coming.
Stacy, you had your hand up too, Stacy.
We're seeing an increase in the domestic training, but we're on hold right now for our contracts. And I've been told it's because the embassies in the countries that we deal with are not open yet for processing. So as soon as that changes, then we'll be right back up to normal. But it's been an increase for domestics.
Okay. Okay, good. Thanks. Appreciate the information.
Yep. Great. Okay, folks. I guess with that, we'll look to see you guys on November 4th at 1 o'clock.
Thanks, Brent, for doing this. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks again, Brent.